Why hello there friends, it's Emma here, the Bookish Princess. October is upon us and there are so many awesome readathons going on BookTube in the month of October, on Bookstagram, on the book internet. I'm planning to participate in 2 of them. One of them is Victober. I absolutely love classics. There are so many great Victorian books, so I'm definitely excited for that one. And then also, I recently announced I'll be hosting my first readathon. It's called the Boo to You Readathon. It's Disney and Halloween themed. It's been so amazing to see so many TBRs from you guys on Twitter and Instagram and here on YouTube. I've decided more or less on my TBR for Boo to You and Victober, so I thought today I would share with you what I'm planning to read. So I made myself a little list. I am often not super organized in what I read. I do tend to just kind of mood read what I feel like. But of course with the readathons, I made myself a plan and I'm going to try to stick through it. I've been holding on to this Rifle Paper Company notebook because I felt like it looked super fallish. So now that the fall is here, I can finally break it in. A number of the books on my TBR do cross over, so I think they'll count for both Victober and Boo to You. Alright, so I think we'll start out with the Victorians. If you haven't heard about Victober, I'll try to remember to link the announcement video down in the description. Some of my favorite booktubers organized it. My friend Kate Howe, who's one of the co-hosts, recently asked me if I had read much Anthony Trollope, and I admittedly have not read much Anthony Trollope. I read Barchester Towers a long time ago. I actually love Angela Thirkell, who's an author. When did she write? Kind of 30s, 40s, between the World Wars, after World War II. And she sets her books in Anthony Trollope's fictional county of Barsetshire, which I think is kind of great. So I love Barsetshire in Angela Thirkell's books, so why not go back and visit Barsetshire, the original? One of the challenges for Victober is to read a Victorian novel and watch its adaptation, and Dr. Thorne just recently had an adaptation, which I think was done by Julian Fellowes, the Downton Abbey guy. So I'm going to try to both read this and check out the adaptation because I haven't seen it before. I'm excited to check this out and get to know Anthony Trollope better. I find it a little ironic though. I sometimes have complained because Jane Austen novels, Jane Austen was not a Victorian. She lived before the Victorians. She died before Victoria ever came to the throne. She kind of set the precedent for Dickens and the Brontes. So it always kind of bugs me when they put Victorian pictures on the cover of Jane Austen's books because that was not her era. And now that I'm looking more closely at the cover of this is a Regency picture. Regency was Jane Austen's era. This does not look much like Victorian fashion. So what is with this? There should be a fact checker for cover art who can say, okay, this picture is not the right era. Let's find a nice Victorian picture. Anyway, 2 of my other big Victober picks are actually ebooks. So I'll put the pictures up here. I am planning to read Dracula by Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker was an Irish author, which I didn't realize. I actually don't know much about Dracula apart from just sort of the popular image of him out there in culture, the white-faced guy and the bats and the fangs. It's always really cool to read the original when you're familiar with the general concept, but to go back and see what the original was actually like. One of the challenges for Victober is to read a book in the first 10 or last 10 years of the Victorian era, and Dracula, I'm pretty sure it was published right at the end of the Victorian era, so that should satisfy that challenge. Another challenge for Victober is to read a book with a proper noun in the title. So does Dr. Thorne count as that? Maybe, I don't know. Or possibly Monsieur Cook, which is by Émile Gabriel. He's a French author. His works were translated into English and read in England in the Victorian period. So I think that counts for Victober. He was actually an inspiration for Sherlock Holmes, although apparently Sherlock Holmes kind of disses Monsieur Cook in the Sherlock Holmes novels. Monsieur Cook is the group read that my brother Athos and I picked for the Boo to You readathon. I'm calling it the Impression de France group read because it'll be fun to experience the French Sherlock Holmes. So for the Boo to You readathon, there are 4 challenges total. One of them is the Monsieur Cook group read, and then another of them, this might be my favorite of all the challenges, is the Madame Leota challenge. You're supposed to pick a book that you think would be in the library at the Haunted Mansion. Actually, I think Dracula totally is a crossover crossover for Victober in this one, because I think Dracula would definitely be in the library at the Haunted Mansion. When you're on the Haunted Mansion ride, they do talk about how the library is stocked with the best ghost authors. So I felt like, okay, I have to find at least one ghost story that I haven't read before. Edith Wharton actually wrote a ghost story called Bewitched. So I found a volume of her collected stories that includes it, and definitely excited to check Edith Wharton's version of a ghost story out. It also reminded me another Edith Wharton book that I think is perfect for the Haunted Mansion. Not only does it belong in the Haunted Mansion library, but it's kind of like, it feels like it's about the ghost bride in the Haunted Mansion, is The Custom of the Country. This kind of collection has 3 novels of New York: The House of Mirth, The Custom of the Country, and The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. I actually haven't read The Age of Innocence or The House of Mirth, and I feel like maybe I should pull one of those out. Maybe they also have some Haunted Mansion characters, but oh my gosh, when I read The Custom of the Country, the character, what was her name? It was a great name. Undine, I think. Undine Spragg. She basically is the ghost bride. I should probably say I'm not actually spoiling the book by saying that, because it's more like metaphorically she kills her husbands. She doesn't actually take a hatchet to them, but she's just so cruel that, you know, her cruelty is just kind of killer. There's some absolutely gorgeous writing in it, but it is also a depressing read, but I do think it fits the Haunted Mansion perfectly. This next pick I think also belongs in the Haunted Mansion library, but it does kind of carry over into the next Boo to You Readathon challenge, which was your park-inspired costume. So you're meant to pick a book that is inspired by the parks, or that inspired something in the parks. There are so many like classics out there that Disney kind of like borrowed from in his movies and his rides, and so it's so cool to like go back and revisit them if you're familiar with the movie or the ride. This month I'm determined to read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. Of course, there's a Sleepy Hollow refreshment stand at the Magic Kingdom, and also if you go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, the Headless Horseman rides down Main Street before the parade. And of course, I think there's also a Disney cartoon of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I found these 2 volumes of Washington Irving at the Brattle Bookshop in Boston. I did a vlog from that. It was just such a beautiful bookshop because they have this like outdoor alley that's got tons and tons of books in it. But I was just looking through some of the other titles. I have here A Traveler's Tales and Sketchbook. Some of these other titles also sound worthy of the Haunted Mansion. There's one called The Spectre Bridegroom, and then there's another in here called, what was it? The Devil and Tom Walker. So we'll see how many of Washington Irving's spooky stories I get to. I just recently bought this, so I'm excited to break it in. It's The Swiss Family Robinson by Johann Wyss. How would you say his last name? Following a wild and raging storm, the Swiss Family Robinson are stranded at sea, but the thundering waves sweep them off to a tropical island where a new life awaits them. Their ship is laden with supplies and the island is packed with treasures, so they soon adapt and discover new delights and dangers every day. At the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, there is a Swiss Family Robinson treehouse. I think at Disneyland, they've actually converted that into like a Tarzan treehouse. They rethemed it. But at Disney World, it's still got tons of references to the Swiss Family Robinson, and like every little, it's kind of like a life-size dollhouse or dollhouse treehouse, because in every room you stop and there's like a little plaque about the life of the family, and like they have their organ and they have this cute little kitchen and all of their little inventions to get running water, to get all these things. I know the story a little bit from, you know, the plaques in the walkthrough treehouse at Disney World, but I've never actually read the book. So definitely excited. The last challenge for the Boo to You Readathon is Pumpkin Spice Candy Cauldron to read a sweet book for fall. So I'm definitely going to be rereading The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes. This is the most charming children's book, and it's just so, it has like so many like little sort of sprinkles of wisdom and so many sweet moments. You have Old Witch and her old cat, and you have a little girl witch and her little cat, and they live up on this glass hill because the old witch has been banished, and the old witch is very bad. But the little girl witch kind of brings her back to life, and it's so fun to see their spells and see their adventures. Another book that I think is pretty cozy and nice for fall is The Lord of the Rings trilogy, and also The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. September 22nd is of course the birthday of Frodo and Bilbo Baggins, 2 of the main characters. I recently did the Tolkien tag to celebrate that, and talking about Tolkien definitely made me want to reread him, and I do think it's a fun time of year to reread Tolkien, so I'll probably be delving into this. Last cozy fall read that I'm planning I think would also fit in at the Haunted Mansion. It's The Lord Peter Mysteries by Dorothy Sayers. I absolutely love these. The Lord Peter and Harriet Vane mysteries are my favorite, and I'm thinking about rereading Gaudy Night. But there are still so many Lord Peter books that I haven't read yet that I'm thinking I'll start with them and see how it goes. I recently got my mom hooked on Dorothy Sayers, and she bought this collection of Whose Body, Clouds of Witnesses, and I'll put the picture of it up here. I can't remember the last one. It was on Kindle. So I'm excited to delve into those three because I haven't read any of them before. And I think those are kind of the first Lord Peter mysteries that Dorothy Sayers wrote. Lord Peter is the main character. He's kind of like a Bertie Wooster, but smarter, and he solves crime, and Bunter is his Jeeves and helps him, and they're so funny. Dorothy Sayers is just an incredible writer. My mom recently was saying she likes how every character in Dorothy Sayers has such a unique voice. Like some authors, like they have a cool story, but the characters might sound a little similar. But in Dorothy Sayers, she really gets under their skin, and each of them sounds so unique. That's about it for my TBR. It's a little bit fairly ambitious. We'll have to see how it goes, and I'm sure I'll throw in some other books, non-Victober, non-Boo to You in there as well. I think I'm going to try to get this video up this weekend, and then hopefully next week I'll get my September reading wrap up, because I've been doing some reading vlogs throughout the month of September, so I have to edit those together, and I'll get them up first week of October. I just thought it was exciting with all the readathons coming up. I wanted to get this out right away. And it's been so amazing to see everybody else's TBRs, especially for the Boo to You readathon. It's so cool to see how creative you all are with like all the different prompts. There have been so many great picks. It makes me jealous. It makes me want to read all of them as well. Like for the Haunted Mansion Library, Edgar Allan Poe. I think he's perfect. Somebody for the park-inspired book is reading a biography of Victoria and Albert for the Victoria and Albert's restaurant, which I kind of adore. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to check out the September reading vlog. Also, exciting for October, my family does have a quick Disney World trip planned. We're gonna go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. I've got to get cracking on my costume. I have it like almost finished, but there's still like a lot of little things that need to get done. It's not a spooky costume, but I'm pretty excited about it. I have no doubt I will be doing vlogs from that and some fun Boo to You readathon videos this month. That's about it from me. I hope you guys have a magical and a spooky day. Bye!